Welcome back to Gimme Five with Jones and Eli. Eli, the NBA is holding its first in-season tournament this year. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I love it, Jones, and I think anybody who doesn't love it just doesn't appreciate basketball enough, to be honest with you. There's no reason why we should be anti more basketball, right? It's more games, first of all. It's more competitive games, more meaningful games, more chances to win trophies. Look, I don't know how much football you watch, how much soccer, but if you watch the Bundesliga, if you watch the Premier League, La Liga, any of these leagues, right, any of these big leagues, they have in-season tournaments like this. You have the DFB Pokal, you have the FA Cup, you have Copa del Rey, you have all these things. And it's just another competition within the season. It's not related to the league title at the end of the year, but it's another chance for your team to win a trophy, to win a title, for it to matter, for you to have that banner flying from your ceiling. And it's just more games for a fan. If you're a fan of a team in the Premier League, you can watch your team play in the FA Cup one day, a couple of days later watch them play in a European competition, and a couple of days later watch them play in the Premier League. And it's just exciting. It's more excitement. It's more enjoyment, and bringing that to basketball, bringing that to the US is just not a bad thing at all.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of it. I think I agree. I love the kind of soccer format of there's, these group stages, and then you work your way up, and then you play for the NBA Cup. But in my mind, as an NBA purist, right? What is winning an NBA Cup means? Who cares, right? The Larry O'Brien Trophy is king, and I think soccer, football, right, has done a really good job of making like different things mean a lot, right? Like whether it's a championship or whatever in season tournament, World Cup, a lot of different like things mean something to win. But in the NBA, just like the MLB, just like the NFL, nobody cares unless you're winning the World Series or the Lombardi or the Larry O'Brien. And I don't think that will change. If the Knicks win the next 6 NBA Cups, right? Are we going to say, wow, the Knicks are great right now, and they don't do anything in the playoffs any of these years? Like, that's what I don't understand about it. And the other incentive is $50,000, which is, don't get me wrong, I would love to play for $50,000, but we're talking about guys who get fined $50,000 for like being petulant on the sidelines of the court. I mean, does $50,000 really move the needle for James Harden, who's making a bajillion dollars? No. So, and the other thing, Eli, not to get ahead of myself, but have you seen the courts? The courts are abrasive to the eyes, to say the least.
Well, the courts are, I don't know why we had to have a completely new courts for these games. That feels unnecessary. A few things, though, that I think will help the NBA in season tournament, because I think you're right. I think in general, we can agree. I mean, at least I would think that it is good for the sport and it is good for the fans. But I completely agree with you that people are not going to take this seriously. People are not going to care as much, obviously, as they would with the NBA Finals. But I think that can change. And a few ways that can change, and I hope it will change, is number one, the group stage games still mean something. So group stage games still count toward the regular season record, which is important, I think, right?
Yes.
It incentivizes the coaches to play their players, to play their best players, because you get that sometimes in, a domestic cup in England or in Germany or whatever. Sometimes they don't play all their best players in the early rounds, and so that kind of lowers the level of play. But in the NBA, they're going to be playing all their stars because it matters. So that's good. Second of all, I saw somebody on TikTok or on Instagram, I don't know, was talking about this. I don't exactly remember who, but they were saying that a lot of the way that we are going to determine how much we care about this cup is based on who wins it this year in its first year and how they act, right? If the Wizards win the cup this year, some team that's irrelevant, that we're never going to care about, like the Knicks, no offense, we're not going to care. We're going to say this is a Mickey Mouse Cup. This doesn't matter. These teams can't actually do it. But if the Nuggets go out and win this, or the Bucks go out and win this, or the Lakers go out and win this, or a big team goes out and wins it and cares about it and posts about it and celebrates about it and acts like it's a real thing, I think we're going to have no choice but to kind of take it a little bit seriously and say, okay, you have to be good to win this thing. Let's see who can win it next year.
But how good do you have to be? You got to get out of the group stage with how many games? Not even, they play Tuesdays and Fridays of November. So like that's max like 8 games or something. It's 4 games, right? It's nothing at that point. And like a game in the NBA is not as consequential as a full soccer match, in my opinion. That's why a group stage game means more in soccer, playing those 90 minutes. It's just different. And guys do rest. I don't know. We'll see if Kawhi Leonard plays in these games, because this guy is load managed. And does Steve Ballmer care about winning a championship, or does he care about winning, an NBA Cup at that point? And I think that's a legitimate question. And what, are we going to look at like LeBron? Are we going to start like Is the guy who overtakes LeBron or the next, like, whatever Jordan LeBron debate going to sit around? Well, LeBron had 4 championships, led the league in scoring, maybe 5 championships this year. But, Wembanyama won 10 NBA Cups. Like, I mean, like, who cares, man? Who cares? They won 4 games in a group stage, won a couple, again, regular season games. They are like playoff games, whatever, but they're not. And then they won a couple games in Vegas. Like, it's fun. I'm going to watch it. It's good for viewership, and maybe that's all. But in the purity of the sport, I think it doesn't matter.
Well, purity schmurdy. I mean, purists used to say 3-point line was a bad thing, and look where it is now. So I think over time we will see this evolve, I hope, into something for real. And I think it is going to be good for basketball. And I think it's good for sports. And I hope more sports bring this in because I love it.
This has been Gimme 5 with Jones and Eli. A reminder to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for a chance to suggest our next pod topic. Eli, thanks for talking.